the pitch is looped towards shortstop. Petroselli's back. He's got it. The Red Sox win. And it's pandemonium on the field.
Welcome to the Great American Collectibles Show, brought to you each week by the National Sports Collectors Convention. Join us every Wednesday evening at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time and get the latest news from the greatest experts in the sports collectibles world. You can watch us on the Great American Collectibles Facebook page, as well as YouTube, or you can listen to us on Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, or any of your favorite podcast platforms. And now your hosts, award-winning sports collectibles author Tom Zappola and Red Sox Hall of Famer Rico Petroselli.
I am up courtside, the 18th floor of the Phoenix Towers, man.
Right.
18th floor of the Phoenix Towers on beautiful Singer Island, and it's freaking raining out.
Well, it's been a tough week. I never saw such rain and wind.
Like, it was really bad. But
unbelievable where I was.
tomorrow it's going to be in the 80s, and going forward, it's going to be in the 80s again.
Well,
yeah, this is our.
but anyway,
This is our second last show. Second last show
before we go back,
from the Phoenix Towers. Before we go back to Massachusetts
in New Hampshire. Anyway, yeah, it's good. It'll be good to get back.
I'm sorry.
We've got two more, don't we?
No, one of the shows that we're doubling up on is the April show, the first week of April.
I was trying to keep the illusion going.
Ellen Head. Oh. All right. Anyways, welcome to the Great American Collectible Show. Tom Zapp, my good pal, Paisan, Red Sox Hall of Famer, Rico Petroselli. What is this? Worcester?
No, this is saying.
W?
Yeah, washed up.
We have a good show today. No, that's the Woo Sox.
The Woo Sox. Worcester.
All right, we've got a good show today. This is an important show, and we every time Tom comes on, we say this: if you don't have insurance on your collectibles, your cards, you're crazy. Number one. So Tom Finklemeier, the president and CEO of Finklemeier Insurance Company, is with us for the whole hour. Joe Orlando from Heritage Auctions, Executive Vice President of Heritage Auctions, former CEO of Collectors, President of PSA, co-author with Tom, Ellen, and Lou on many books. Joe's going to be dealing with us, joining us in a couple of minutes. Right now, our other good pal, Lee Behrens from Sterling Sports Auction. Lee comes on about once a month because he has a cool auction going every month. What's going on now? Is your auction going on yet?
Yeah, I have an auction running currently that ends on Thursday, March 26th.
And obviously, Lee, mostly vintage stuff. Why don't you tell us about some of the items that you have going in the auction?
Yeah, we got a nice selection of high-end stuff. This is going to be a little tough with the glare, but
that's okay.
1914 Cracker Jack Bender, Collins, and there's a few other ones. What a nice selection of mantles. 67 and a 6, 56 in a 3, 53 color in a 4, and 53 tops in a 3. They're all very nice presentation. So they'll be really good in the auction.
Leah, are those from the same consignor?
No, they get spread out between other people. You have a number of different consignors for every auction. Haven't landed one of those yet where somebody's
but it's interesting, man, how and Tom, you can chime in here at any point also. It's amazing how mantle cards have not lost any steam whatsoever in any year, in any grade. It's just crazy. Mantle is red hot.
He's the greatest. Everybody loves Ricky.
I don't know if he's the greatest. As a matter of fact, with that being said, when we get back to Boston, I have challenged, and actually we've challenged each other. Steve Lane is going to be coming on the show with Rico, myself, and Joe Tomasulo, because I'm maintaining the position that I do not consider Mickey Mantle in the top 10 players of all time. And Steve Lane thinks I'm totally insane, and I'm going to prove him wrong.
You're insane.
I really think that he's number 4 in outfielders in that era. From Willie Mays, Hank Aaron, and Frank Robinson.
I don't mean that Mickey is the greatest ball player. or even in the top 10, I could have that conversation. But there's something magical about Mickey to the hobby.
I couldn't agree with you more, Tom.
The greatest when it comes to the hobby, you know, the 52 tops is when that is the baseball card.
I couldn't agree with you more, but
iconic.
Steve Lane is taking the position that he is in the top 10 greatest baseball players of all time, and I'm taking issue with that.
How could you do that?
Oh, easily.
Please.
Easily. Well, you're going to be involved. You can take
I'll
his
be
position.
involved. Well, maybe I might change my mind, but I doubt it. He was my.
I'm not this.
What's the word?
Hero.
Mentor. Yeah, I guess as a kid, he was. Oh my God.
Anyway, let's get back. Let's get back.
Oh
to
yeah,
Lane.
wait a minute. Now, this is a good argument. For
a
second. I have a question. Oh, that's the camera. Yeah, the T206 cards. To me, they're really beautiful cards. The colors, are they painted? Tom, you might know.
I do know, and you should know.
Wait a second, I know, but I want to.
Are they painted?
I want to say something on the show. Are they paint watercolors or what are they?
They're all printed. I mean,
printed.
Yeah, I don't think there's too many that are painted other than like the 53 tops.
But I mean,
I think
really
the T3s were too, weren't they?
I probably from the pictures they probably did color, and there is the random sets. Obviously, the strip cards are kind of interesting, and I don't know if people are aware. And I asked one time why there was very little color in the cards from the teens and the 20s, and one of the printing experts said it was because after World War I, the stuff to make color prints was too expensive and not very readily available.
That's a very cool point. I never thought of that. What else do you have in the auction?
We have a complete set break of a 1967 top set that's in very nice condition. There's the big names. The owner had went and got the high end cards graded, so they're in there individually, but I think it's 7 cards short of a complete set.
Are you selling the set as a near complete set, or are you selling the cards separately?
The 6 or 7 graded ones are separate.
Okay.
So the rest of them, I think there's only one graded that's within the other lot, but the rest of them are all in one lot. It's 502 with a 509.
Now I'm sure Petroselli's card is graded,
no,
right?
Yastrzemski. Hey, yeah, it's graded all right. Yastrzemski's got to be in that group. No, I mean, what a year he had.
Of the graded ones, I don't know.
There's
now.
Other
Triple Crown.
Nice, always popular is a Lou Gehrig.
That's a great card.
Lou Gehrig. It's
great
the number
card,
92 in there. I have a very large selection of Colgan chips. The big highlight is a Harry Hooper. It's his rookie.
Yeah.
So I had one in the previous auction, and it went for almost $1,000, and I have a different variation in this one.
Excellent.
Was it Harry Hooper who was
Red Sox?
No, I know.
He was your teammate, I think.
Who said that?
Not me.
No, wasn't he? Was it him?
The $100,000 outfield.
No, wait a second. A graduate of one of the big schools.
Oh, maybe.
Harvard or one.
No, you know who you're thinking of. You're thinking of the pitcher.
Tris Speaker.
No, Smokey Joe Wood went to Yale. I think he was a Yale guy.
Wood, okay, yeah, which was unusual in those days.
I mean, so when does the auction start?
The auction started last week,
and it ends at 25th.
March 26th is the end date. I always like to remind people that I do not have to charge sales tax in any state except Minnesota, where I'm based out of. The buyer's premium is 17%. So if you're consigning or buying, compared to large auction houses, it's like a 10% difference.
Excellent.
So,
good. That's a good business model. Lee, I tell you really have a niche for yourself in this hobby where I know you have a lot of loyal customers, and your cards are always priced right.
Absolutely.
some great bargains. Great
I
bargains.
appreciate that. And it's interesting because like the consigners, I've had like 5 or 6 that dump me about 15 to 20 cards every auction.
That's what I figured.
And an interesting thing is some like 3 or 4 of them, I get all these Washington Senators cards. And I never would have thought there was that many collectors of Washington Senators cards.
Really?
Big Frank Howard.
I know. All right, your website address?
SterlingSportsAuctions.com.
Yeah.
And I run an auction every 6 weeks. And so there's something for everybody in there. Whether I start the auctions as low as $20. So there's lesser price cards in there and higher end cards.
Good for you.
That's good.
Before we let you go, any snow on the ground?
Wait,
Actually, we
Minnesota,
got some
maybe?
last week. We didn't get the big blizzard part, but we got 50-degree weather coming up. So we're
good
going
for
to
you.
lose everything we got.
Well, that's a good thing.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Lee. We'll just talk to you down the road.
Yeah,
All right.
thanks. Always enjoyable to be on the show, guys.
Great. Take care. Lee
You know,
Behrens from
thanks.
Sterling
I
Sports.
got a niche in my back here. Would you scratch it for me,
No.
somebody? Well, all right. I'll get
Use the pen.
one of the claws.
Use the pen.
I got a claw.
All right, let's bring in our other guest. Is Joe with us?
Joe's
Here
with
he is. See, Orlando he just shakes his head. He just
What do you
shakes.
mean?
It's just what I said. He shakes his head
About what?
about you and I,
Oh, yeah. Well, I understand that.
right?
We all do. I
Thomas
just do
finds
it.
that out, too.
What, Joe?
I said it's fun. What am I going to say?
All right, listen. I'm glad you came in, Joe. From obviously Joe Orlando, Executive Vice President of Heritage Auctions. Tommy Finklemeier from Finklemeier Insurance. Listen, we have a lot to talk about today, and I asked Joe to come in because Joe, with your customer base, I mean, some of your customers just have absolutely incredible collections. Before we ask Tom the question, you as an auctioneer, how important is it for your customers, whether they be big or small, to have coverage for their collections?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we've talked about it before on the show. I think it's something that unfortunately gets overlooked because this is a fun endeavor that we're all involved with. But now, of course, the value levels have changed so dramatically over the past several years. It's really, really important that people consider this as part of the management of their collection. I know I've been doing it now for over a quarter of a century with Tom and his company. And you hope you never have to use it, of course. And I haven't had to do anything with mine, but you have to have that protection because, again, I think it's something psychological, I believe, where people think, oh, it's just a hobby, it's fun and games. But what if something happens? You don't want to be left hung out to dry in a situation like that.
Joe, we have plenty of mutual friends, though, that have had to use it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Want to ask Tom, let's say I'm a collector and I have some vintage. I got a collection of $500,000. I got some great cards. Okay. How much insurance should I get? I mean, you have to look at the cards or whatever they want to be insured, in this industry. How do you figure that out?
Rico, that's a great question.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Wait a
This is historic.
Lou, you got that down?
I got it. I wrote it down.
Look,
We got the recording.
Louis, we're going to run that reel. We're going to.
Okay, I got it.
Go ahead, Tom.
Thanks,
I'm sorry.
Rico, that is a great question.
Thank you.
A personal collection, you should insure it for its fair market value. So if you think it's worth $500,000, you should insure it for $500,000.
Okay.
Now, we use many companies. There's a handful that specialize in collectibles and not just sports memorabilia. You're talking jewelry, comic books, precious moments, statuary, art. The same company that would insure the paintings in a museum is in a fine arts floater is the kind of company that would insure sports memorabilia. But there's a lot of different policies out there. And that's why you talk to somebody who works with all of them and understands what does Rico need in the state he lives in right now, because that question can change every 2 or 3 years as companies enter and leave the market or add restrictions that we would not recommend you put up with, and then we move you somewhere new.
Well, that brings me to the question, Tom, because Joe was talking about it. The industry has changed to the point where your $500 collection, $500,000 collection should be a $750,000
Right.
collection in a matter of weeks, just based
And
on one
a
auction price.
policy does not automatically encompass the increase in market value. You have to stay on top of your collection.
Yeah.
And a good collector, you already have a checklist. How are you collecting if you don't know what you have?
Right.
The homework is keeping up with your values and say, hey, do I need to make an adjustment here? I mean, it's a lot more volatile, but your house is no different. I mean, your house you need to look at every year. Can I still build my house for what the insurance says?
So, all right. So let me ask you, because I've seen this, like, for instance, on Antiques Roadshow, using that as an example, somebody, the appraiser will say, okay, your collection is worth $100,000. However, you should probably insure it for $140,000. I've seen that. So my question to you is, number one, is that the right thing to do? And number two, to get back to what Rico is saying and what Joe said, if I have a $500,000 collection, you're saying fair market value. Is there anything that prevents me from insuring it for $700,000?
Yes. The companies are pretty particular. So I chuckled when I heard, on Antique Roadshow, well, your collection's worth 100, but I'd insure it for 140.
I've seen that a zillion times.
And the insurance company says, yeah, that's not going to fly. If the appraiser says it's worth 100, they'll insure it for 100. And the more valuable the items, the more invasive the insurance company. So, for example, if you buy the Jordan flu shoes, they're going to want to see a third party appraiser to substantiate the value before they put, $600,000 on a pair of shoes.
Gotcha.
Now in the small realm, under $10,000 an item, they'll typically accept comps. So, and that's the way a lot of collectors, you just look and see what stuff's trading for, closed auctions on eBay or at Heritage, and you look for comps, and that's usually okay. But the bigger ticket the item, the more particular the insurance company is going to get, because from their mindset, they're not trying to turn your collection into a slot machine.
I gotcha.
They don't want to over insure it, because the name of the game is indemnify. Theoretically, and of course in the memorabilia world, you can't always get a direct replacement. But theoretically, if you had a PSA 452 mantle burn, you should get enough money to go buy another one.
Gotcha.
But you shouldn't get enough to upgrade a grade.
Joe, I can sign something to you for an auction, whatever it is. Do you guys, I have a 52 mantle. I want to put it in your auction. I have it insured. What happens when I hand you that card and on your end of it? If do you guys take insurance out on consignments? How does that all work?
Yeah, we have an overarching insurance policy that covers, when it's in our possession, when we're handling it, it's fully covered by our company. So you could only imagine how many shipments are going out on a daily basis, not just from sports, but all the other categories that we have. So yes, insurance is a huge part of the Heritage Auctions Foundation. I did want to comment on something that Mr. Finklemeier mentioned. It really is astonishing. While people like myself and many other collectors have checklists and we keep records and, we try to be as organized as we can, I think it would stun most of your listeners to know how many collectors that have really valuable collections have no checklist at all. It would astonish. I'm talking about collections that have millions of dollars of material in them, and there's no sort of central checklist or central inventory management system, whatever you want to call it.
Do you guys try to advise them on that, Joe? Do you
I mean,
advise
of
them?
course, every time I talk to clients and fellow collectors, I always recommend that, just from a personal standpoint as
Sure.
well. It's not just from a heritage standpoint. I just think it's valuable to do it. But again, I think I think collectors, we've been conditioned over time, in a sense, to not take it as seriously as maybe we should. Now, again, the market has changed so dramatically the past several years. I really would, encourage people to do it. But again, you would be astonished for the lack of whatever you want to call it, collection management.
I would not be astonished, because we deal with this with people that I want insurance. Well, what do you have? I don't know. Well, you can't ask the insurance company to compensate you if you don't know what you lost. Right. You've got to have something.
No. I'm using Petroselli.
Wait a minute.
I am using Petroselli as an example of what you two are talking about.
If he resembles that remark.
If I've told you how many times I've asked this guy at his home, Rico, let's go through your collection and let's catalog it. What do you have? I don't know. That's the answer that I get.
It's not. I know. I don't want to tell him because he might steal it.
That's what it is.
Yeah. No. I have.
Lou and I
don't have anything.
Lou and I are on a mission. When we get back, we are going together to his house, and we're going to help him catalog his collection.
No, I don't have anything valuable.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Listen. Before we take a break, I have one more question for Tom. Tom, what sort of claims are you guys seeing right now for both collectors and dealers?
Well, for dealers, break-ins, Southern California has been a hot spot, has been a real problem for us. Wow. They think they may have apprehended one ring that was behind a lot of the high-profile break-ins, but there's plenty of folks that just walk up. You see them on the camera. They throw a cinder block through the front door. They run in, smash and grab, and they're out in 3 minutes flat. Shipping is an issue.
Yeah.
We've had a lot of shipping claims, and the insurance companies are really getting tight on shipping restrictions. And I know you mentioned in the pre-show, I'm sure we're going to get more into shipping later.
But in the past, celebrities, you've read things that and former players and present day players have been robbed of rings,
right in their houses,
all kinds of stuff. Yeah,
right in their houses.
This is
right
incredible.
In their houses. Yeah,
what
nuts. All right, listen. Tom Finklemeier is in the house. Joe Orlando's he's joining us. He's with us also for the hour. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we have a lot to talk about. We do have a crackerjack moment. This is our second last crackerjack moment. And by the way, we have
so excited.
2 books left.
No kidding.
2 books left.
Well,
why don't you spring for one?
I'll give you $5 for it.
All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hang in there. We'll be right back.
1996, Brian Drent and the staff at Denver's Mile High Card Company have led the charge in the collectibles hobby. Mile High is a full-service dealer specializing in buying and selling cards and offers a competitive consignment program for all collectors. Whether it be their computerized want list service, appraisals, or auction services, Mile High has it all. If you've been searching for a company with a selection of high-grade vintage 1888 to 1970 baseball cards and memorabilia that shares your passion, aim high, Mile High. Go to milehighcardco.com or call 303-840-2784 for more information.
This is Brian Drent, president of Mile High Card Company. Is your sports card and memorabilia collection properly insured? For easily replaced personal property, homeowners insurance is all most people need. But for prized possessions that you may have spent a lifetime collecting, it doesn't go nearly far enough. Collectibles Insurance Services has been insuring for over 50 years. They offer a full range of protection and a $0 deductible at an affordable rate with no appraisals required. I know because they insure my collection. If you have a minute, go to collectinsure.com and learn more about insuring your personal card or memorabilia collection.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
How would you like to own the bat that was used by your favorite player when he hit that towering home run or game-winning base hit? Well, look no further than JT Sports, specializing in the sale and authentication of professional game-used bats. As the official authenticators of professional model game-used bats for PSA DNA, JT Sports will guarantee the authenticity of any bat purchased from them. JT Sports also buys and sells game-worn uniforms, gloves, and baseball equipment. The unique quality of the collectible is what JT Sports is all about. Give them a call at 609-487-8003 or check them out at GameUseBats.com.
Okay, we are back. Tom Finklemeier from Finklemeier Insurance and Joe Orlando from Heritage Auctions in the house. Joe, you know, I still love that Babe Ruth behind you, the card that never was. That was genius. That was genius. And that was your idea when we wrote that book. That was your idea. What was the artist's name? I don't remember.
Don't do that. Arthur Miller.
No, what's his name?
Arthur Miller.
Arthur Miller. Yeah,
he did it. Look, Arthur gets the credit. I mean, that's it looks exactly like you would imagine, you know, if there were such a thing as a 1950s.
But you came up with the idea. You said, hey, what do you think about, because Babe Ruth is not in the Cracker Jack collection. What about, we call it the Babe Ruth card that never was. And I'll tell you what, man, that was really popular. Really popular.
Yeah. I just wish they were real.
I guess start issuing 5 or 10 of them and just make some money.
Yeah. Actually, I have a couple. Actually, Joe gave me like the last 10 that existed. I have them.
Oh, wow.
All right, it's time for another Cracker Jack moment brought to us each week by our good friend Paul Borges and the gang at PB Collectibles. Go to pbcollectibles.com for that special vintage card at an amazing price. This week, one of my favorite players of all time, Rico, a Red Sox great, played for Cleveland, but he was a Red Sox great, Tris Speaker. A standout both offensively and defensively, the Gray Eagle can certainly be included in any discussion as one of the all-time greats. With a lifetime batting average of .345, very close to Petrocelli's, along with over 3,500 hits, Tris Speaker either sits near the top or leads the league in a number of categories, nearly 100 years later. With most career doubles, 15 career hits, most career outfield assists, and 1,529 career runs batted in, Speaker is considered one of the 5 or 6 greatest outfielders, along with the likes of Ruth, Cobb, Williams, Mays, and Musial. Clemente, or whoever else you want to include in the list. In 1912, his greatest year, Speaker wowed Boston by amassing 53 doubles, 222 hits, a league-leading 10 home runs at the time, and 52 steals, along with a .383 average, earning the Chalmers Award for Most Valuable Player.
Overrated.
A darling of the Boston fans, Speaker became known as Spoke. He was given the nickname by teammate Billy Carrigan, who would shout out Speaker Spoke. whenever Tris got a hit. His 1912 and 1915 Boston teams were World Series champions. Although successful on the field, there were tensions in the clubhouse and with management. After a salary dispute, Speaker was traded to the Cleveland Indians, where he continued to excel, beating Cobb for the batting title in 1916. Beloved by Cleveland fans, he went on to bat over .350 for 7 seasons. He had a very successful career as a manager for the Indians from 1919 to 1926, leading them to a World Series championship in 1920 with his inspirational play in center field. After his major league career, the Gray Eagle was part owner of the Kansas City Blues before returning to the Indians as a scout and broadcaster. In 1947, Speaker again donned the Indians uniform as a coach, working with young players. He was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1937. The list of his accomplishments goes on and on. However, one thing is certain, Tris Speaker definitely makes his cut to be included in the dream Crackerjack outfield. And that is another Crackerjack moment.
Yeah, baloney.
To get one of the very few remaining copies of the book, go to tomzapplemedia.com/Crackerjack Collection to order your copy of the Crackerjack Collection, baseball's prized players. This great book will give you a glimpse into the personal and professional lives of the players in this iconic collection. That's the Crackerjack Collection, on sale now for 30% off. Again, very few books left of the regular, 30% off the regular price. tomzapplemedia.com/Crackerjack.
Wait a minute. You never batted .350.
Wait a second.
Did you ever have 3,500 hits?
Wait, good. I'm glad you brought that up. It won't take long because we want our guests. We got two great guests. The gloves were as big as my hand,
which makes it harder to field.
Right, and easier to get hits. Okay?
Oh, get out of here.
Are you serious? These guys were single hitters, for Pete's sakes. Ty Cobb was a single.
That's because it was a dead ball. Orlando, will you help me here, please?
There's no helping you, Tommy.
I mean, let's face it.
Nobody buys these arguments. They were playing against insurance brokers for crying. No offense.
That's Wait a minute. Yeah, I changed my mind.
This is a tough room. Tough room.
No, and I'm just kidding.
Hey, Tom, I want to let's get into the whole discussion, if you will, on shipping. Shipping sports memorabilia. What are your feelings about what's going on with the shipping today between FedEx, the post office, all of that?
What would you say the shot is, Tom, of actually getting it? 50-50?
Well, I'm glad you brought that up. I have had a lot of pushback from customers over the years when we tell them that most of our insurers don't want you shipping priority mail. They will flat out not cover the United States Postal Service. And the smaller dealer who's doing some eBay sales or Amazon sales, they push back because it's affordable, but you get what you pay for. And really, in my opinion, the United States Postal Service has been most effective, not at delivering packages, but at marketing priority mail as an equivalent to FedEx and UPS express shipment. And sadly, it is not. We've had a lot of cases of pilfered packages in distribution centers, things just getting mangled in the final delivery. So most of the carriers we work with just said flat out, United States Postal Service is out. We won't cover them at all.
And I know from my girlfriend shopping that there are plenty of alternate distributors as well beyond UPS and FedEx. It's like there are companies out there that I've never heard of. I'm guessing you should stay away from those as well because
there's no perfect solution here they're common carriers. You're putting your valuable item into the hands of the unknown person to hope that it gets to the other end. Now, for low end stuff you buy on eBay, you can chance it, but the more valuable the item, the more expensive and priority you want the shipment to be. And then frankly, I sold a PSA 4 52 Mantle 4 or 5 years ago to Andy Albert at Indy Card Exchange in Indianapolis. And he hooked me up with a guy. I sold it. And I said, well, I don't want to ship it. I'll just drive it to Indy. It's 2.5 hours for me. I don't want to ship it.
Sure.
You don't want to risk something that's that valuable.
Okay, and you bring up a subject when you talk about that, because if you're addressing it to a card shop, for example, or an auction house, for example, that implies value. Is that something you should be wary of?
That's definitely something you should be wary of. As I mentioned, one of the patterns of theft that we've seen is in distribution centers where somebody working in the package sorting area is hip to the return address, for example, of Heritage or some other auction house. And they're looking for that stuff. And that's where you have packages disappear. Now, in a perfect world, eventually there's a pattern of theft and, FedEx gets on the case and their internal controls realize they're disappearing at this point and they end up catching them. But that's not much consolation for you if your item was the one that went missing and is now gone.
Joe, you guys ship thousands of packages probably every day. Have you guys had problems with shipping? And I'm assuming that you pretty much use FedEx exclusively.
Not to the extent of what I've heard just at the industry at large. And I think one of the things that Lou brought up is, telegraphing, trying to avoid telegraphing the package or the contents.
Yeah.
This is just taking my Heritage hat off for a second. This is just a personal recommendation, but I always recommend to people, if they're moving stuff back and forth between collectors, dealers, auction houses, whatever it is, also make sure that it's packaged before you get to the place. Like if you package up your material when you're dropping it off to ship, make sure it's already, packaged. One of the things that we have done in my nearly 4 years at Heritage, now it's gone by quickly, is that we are doing more armored transport than ever before. When I first started, we used armored transport for a certain value level and higher, and now we have brought that value level down to accommodate more shipments. So we are going with the armored transport option more than we have in the past. So look, I mean, as Mr. Finklemeier has pointed out here on the call or on the show, you got to use common sense, and you get what you pay for. So, make sure you get signature required, make sure you get a tracking number. I mean, however you're doing it, it's worth it. It's worth paying a few extra bucks and doing it the right way.
Hey, I was just reading. I want to ask you guys this. I mean, Tom, this is nothing to do with the sports memorabilia world, but I want to get your opinions. Lou, you too. So I just read. Did you guys read about the Ursay? I'm sure you know about the Ursay auction at Sotheby's.
Yeah.
And did you see what they got for the Beatles stuff? It was like incredible. Ringo Starr's drums, the original drums, $2 million, $1.9 million they got for that. And something like, I think it was the Rickenbacker was like a ridiculous amount of money also.
Yeah.
I would think that the Beatles, that would
Joe,
go
I'm
high.
surprised you guys. How did you guys not wind up with that consignment?
Hey, don't get me started. We would have loved to have represented it. I mean, it's a tremendous collection, but I think to your point, Tom, it just goes to show it doesn't matter if you're talking about rock and roll,
right,
comics, sports, iconic stuff brings huge prices. That's where the really big prices and the really big premiums are being paid, and they continue to be paid because that, it's kind of like the whole beachfront property concept that we've talked about before. It's just, It doesn't matter what category we're talking about. That's the stuff that tends to pull away from the rest of the pack over time. Mm-hmm. So that I think you saw that in his collection because he had such a great representation in music and, rock and roll.
Just amazing.
Telegraphing. What telegraphs more than shipping a guitar? I mean, nothing looks like a guitar when it ships.
That's true.
I mean, it's a pretty distinct shipping shape.
Well, I want to ask Tom, what kinds of insurance might a dealer need that they don't know about? They don't realize that they know it. And also, I want to ask you about this too. What about these collectors that keep their stuff in their own safe in the house? Let's say they think it's, pretty safe.
We'll unpack. There's two things there, and this ties into Joe's comment on the telegraphing in your shipments. People who collect are passionate. People in your circle know that you're a collector, and that's a big part of your life. But in a lot of small towns, over the years that they'd have Tom Finklemeier, collects cards, and I'm holding up cards, and you end up in your local newspaper.
Yeah.
I counsel my clients all the time, anonymity is your biggest defense. You do not want to be on the front page of your local paper, with a pack of cards saying, "Oh, these are worth a ton of money." But
That's
actually,
a good point.
World on Wheels are not worth a ton of money, but I like non-sport. But you don't want to do that, because you make your home a target. Because there are lots and lots of people that realize that I could probably flip that stuff for easy cash. And in this day and age with the internet, I can find out your home address pretty quick. And so can the bad guys.
Yeah.
You mentioned a safe, Rico. One of the key things about a safe, whether you are a dealer or whether you are a private collector, bolt that thing to the concrete floor or to the building. I can't tell you how many of these break-ins of sports card shops, when they have the news report, they say, yeah, they got into the back room. They just took the whole safe with them.
Yeah.
Take the safe, and then they're acetylene torching it while they're busting open a can of Natty Light in somebody's garage, and they'll get in it with enough time.
I watched Animal Kingdom. I saw all that. Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta secure that to the facility. Now, go ahead.
Tom,
No.
I used to hang out with an insurance adjuster. I think I've told you this before, and there are a lot of.
I remember her, Lou.
Yeah,
she was a cute little thing.
Yeah, she was. There are a lot of memorable stories. Is there ever a dog ate my baseball card collection story or anything like it? What comes to mind about unusual claims that you've had?
Well, sometimes you have claims. I don't know that they're particularly unusual, but we had one within the last 3 years where the store increased their collection inventory from 1 million to 1.5 million. And within 30 days, they called and said, "Oh, we had a flood loss." And I said, "Oh, how much water got in? 3 or 4 inches." And I said, "Okay, well, that, it's probably not going to be that bad of a loss." And they said, "Oh, no, it's going to be a total." And I said, "You had 3 inches of water and everything's a total?" "Well, yeah, everything was on the floor."
Oh, God.
And I said, "Come again?" And, I'm
what are they
the
thinking?
Google photographs of their store, and there's display cases and racks and
what
stuff
are
on the
people
wall.
thinking?
Well,
that
particular claim, what they were thinking, at least the insurance company, is fraud.
Yep.
And so that, that there is, we just happened to put everything on the floor, and then there was a flood. There was heavy rain predicted.
So let's stay on that point for a second, Tom. So how do you determine if it is fraud? How does the insurance company, and I'm sure you send an investigator in there, but how can you prove something like that's fraud rather than someone being just incompetent?
Show me the damaged cards.
Well, Tom, if we could exclude incompetence or stupidity, I'd be out of a job, because every single insurance claim can be pointed back to somebody did something.
Yeah, that's a good point. Good point.
But in that case, and it's not me, I'm just a humble salesman. I sell you the product. The insurance company has claims adjusters.
Yeah.
But then they've got their top shelf guys in the background called SIU. And if they think something's fishy, they call in the special investigation unit to handle that claim but something has to trigger their sixth sense. Something about your claim, like, "Oh yeah, the day before the flood, we put everything on the floor." That doesn't make sense.
Good point. Yeah.
Or show me the
you need insurance.
show me the water damage 52 mantle. You got to see it, right?
Yeah, right. Good point.
Yeah, well, and of course they want to see it. That there was the inventory was destroyed. It's all soaked. The question is, the hell did you put everything on the floor for?
Right.
We are chatting with Tom Finklemeier and Joe Orlando from Heritage Auctions. Louis, wait a minute. Didn't you? Now it's coming back. You used to refer to her as the leggy blonde.
The leggy blonde, yeah.
The leggy blonde. I remember her. She's very
We did a
cute
baseball card collection with her too. Phil Castanetti got involved and helped.
Did he really?
Help value the cards, yeah.
All right, listen, Rico, why don't you talk to our good friends about our good friend Charlie Perino and JRI Cards? Even you can see
2 pages. Look,
Even you can see that.
Yeah, it is good. Thank you. JR Card. If you want to have an absolute blast at obtaining some great modern and vintage cards, you got to check out JRI Cards. Our paisan Charlie, the Iron Ripper Perino, along with Money Marco, the Dollar Girls, and the JR Gang and Al Capone, give you the chance to participate in opening a graded, unopened, and sealed fresh wax or cello pack of your favorite sport or
Cello.
I like the in Italian is cello. Sport or non-sport favorite. It's easy. You buy in, Charlie opens the pack, and you get a packed fresh card. It's that simple. As a matter of fact, if you pull that special jewel, the guys at JR Cards will even have it graded for you on the house. That good?
Yeah, it's real good.
Yeah. Featured in the LA Times, ESPN, and USA Radio, JRI is the hottest card pulling show, page 2, on the internet. Charlie and his staff make it fun, entertaining, and enjoyable.
We had a blast there.
Yeah, we did. With his collection of hats and sound effects. Beautiful studio he has. And don't forget that JRI donates a part of their proceeds to various charities. That's JRI Cards. Check out their exclusive breaks and events that everyone is talking about. They're always digging up cardboard treasures. For a great hobby experience, go to jricards.com. Not cards.
Cards.
Cards, see?
JRI Cards.
Cards.
Okay. All right, listen, I think we'll take a break now, Lou.
Okay.
We'll take a quick break now. We have another segment. Tom is in the house. Joe is in the house.
Great
we have
show,
an
guys.
On deck.
This is
fabulous.
this
is informative.
I mean,
it really is.
If I'm a collector listening to this, then no doubt, if I don't have insurance, I would get it.
You're idiots if you don't. You're idiots if you don't have it. All right.
Oh, that's
be
it.
honest.
And don't put your cards on the floor.
That's real good. He's calling
Don't
all the
leave your
people
cards
listening.
No, only if you
Idiots.
don't have,
Now we'll never hear from anybody.
if you don't have insurance.
All right. You're right.
All right. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Is a family-owned and operated online auction specializing in autographed memorabilia, sports cards, coins, art, and collectibles. Since their founding in 2010, they've grown to 2 facilities in Phoenix, Arizona, totaling over 60,000 square feet. Jared Cavalier and an incredible staff of over 150 team members serve a very large customer base and enjoy every minute of it. By working with leading authentication companies, Pristine ensures all items are 100% authentic. In addition, third-party authenticators regularly travel to Pristine Auction to provide authentication services on site. Pristine Auction strives to operate its business in a way that's honoring to God, their families, and their customers. With a strong focus on speed, quality, and premier customer service, their mission is to be the leading online auction for every level of collector and fan. Pristine also works for Hope Sports and Identity Hoops International, traveling to Mexico to build houses for the less fortunate. Pristine Auction offers several online auction formats with thousands of auctions ending each day. For more information, go to pristineauction.com. That's Pristine Auction, the best in the business.
If you're a discerning collector interested in owning the most important pieces in the hobby, look no further than Leland's Auctions. The original sports auction and appraisal house, Leland's was established in 1985 by legendary Pioneer founder Joshua Leland Evans. And today, President Mike Hefner carries on their tradition. From the Tom Brady card and memorabilia collection to the famed Boston Garden auction to high-end card auctions from every major sport, Leland's has always maintained the highest standards. Go to Lelands.com and get your bid in. That's Leland's, the hobby's leading sports auction house for 4 decades.
It's often been said that championships are won on the practice field, and world records come only to those willing to work harder than everybody else. Heritage Auctions is the world's largest collectibles auctioneer because we believe that becoming the best is only an invitation to the challenge of remaining the best. This requires the skills of the hobby's top experts, capable of identifying and maximizing value for our consigners. It requires the most visited website in the industry, courting a global audience of collectors over 1.5 million strong. It requires a dedicated press department that expands our global reach far beyond the entrenched hobby marketplace. It's hard work, but a simple premise. Present the finest collectibles to the largest population of potential buyers, and world records will come. We invite all listeners to put the unmatched power of Heritage Auctions to work for you. Auction evaluations are always free, and our commission-based fee structure ensures that our interests are always aligned. The highest possible price for your collectibles. There will always be new world records to chase, so let's chase them together. Visit our website at ha.com and request your no-obligation review today.
Hi, this is Dan from Memory Lane Auctions, here to remind you that the renowned Memory Lane Collectibles Company has served as a beacon of light to the collecting community for the past several decades. Indeed, folks, it has been our utmost privilege and pleasure to provide the most enthusiastic collectors with an abundance of the finest sports cards and memorabilia for America's most coveted sports personalities via our world-class auctions. Whether you choose either a private sale transaction or the auction route, Memory Lane cordially invites you to reach out to us to maximize the value of your prized possessions. Also, it is not just sales that we pride ourselves on being the best of the rest, because if you are seeking a particular keepsake for your esteemed gathering, we will be relentless in our quest to find that special piece to fulfill your collecting dreams. So no time to wait. Reach out to us today for the purposes of capitalizing on our unparalleled marketing capabilities. Simply pick up the phone and dial 877-606-5263. That's 877-606-LANE, or find us on the World Wide Web at www.memorylaneinc.com. Now is the time for your valued consignment to ultimately become another one of Memory Lane's record-setting prices.
Okay, we are back for our last segment. Tom Finklemeier, Joe Orlando, Rico Petrocelli, Lou Blasi, Tom Zappala, and speaking of Finklemeier Insurance Agency, Finklemeier Insurance Agency has been insuring collectibles since the early 80s. The late Tom Finklemeier wrote the original sports memorabilia insurance policy when no one else in the industry was insuring sports collectibles. That's how far back they go, Rick.
Mm-hmm.
A lifelong collector of sports cards, Tom Sr. instilled a love of collecting into Tom Jr., the current president of Finklemeier Insurance Agency. And Tom, I want to talk about your dad when we come back.
Sure.
Tom Finklemeier Jr., with 3 decades of insurance experience, has paired that expertise with 50 years of collecting. With a litany of professional designations, including counseling and risk management, Tom covers every aspect of your collectible insurance needs. Unlike some of the companies that sell collectibles insurance directly to the consumer online, Finklemeier Insurance Agency is the only independent retail agent who specializes in sports memorabilia and collectibles nationwide. Representing all major companies that sell collectibles insurance, there is no agent that insures more collectors, dealers, appraisers, auctioneers, or events in the collectibles hobby than Finklemeier Insurance. Our good friend and hobby legend, John Tobby of JT Sports, has been using Finklemeier Insurance for over 20 years. For more information, go to thefia.com. Thefia.com. That's Finklemeier Insurance, where collecting is our passion. Let's talk about your dad for a minute, Tom.
Yes, sir.
Now, was
One of my
your
favorite
dad,
subjects.
I'm sure. Now, was your dad a collector? How did he even think about getting into this part of the business?
Because he was a collector. He grew up in the golden age. He revered Mickey, Stan Musial, Ted Williams, all the greats. He collected cards, and he was a pure collector. And a pure collector because, they never throw anything away. I mean, everything's a collection. If you have a Maytag dishwasher, then all your other appliances have to be Maytag and they have to match. You can't just all have white. They have to be the same brand. That's how a brain of a collector works. So he collected sports cards in the golden age. He was born in 46. And as his buddies were going off to college, he'd say, "Hey, Joe, can I buy all those baseball cards we used to trade for $10?" People said, "Sure," And when I tell that story, people say, oh, well, your father, oh, he was a forward thinker. No, he wasn't. He never thought they'd be worth anything. He just wanted more baseball cards because he loved them.
Very cool.
Loved them. Loved collecting. So later in life, he got drafted and went to Vietnam and enjoyed 11 months of jungle combat.
Oh, God.
When he got back, he thought he was going to sleep on the couch, but my grandfather, who was a made man, who put himself through UC Medical, surgeon, big man in a small town, grandson of German immigrants that became the Finklemeier family. He said, I got an appointment for you to work at Salina Mutual Insurance as an adjuster trainee Monday morning, 8 o'clock. My dad said, well, I was just in a war.
Can I take a break?
Take a month off. And my grandpa said, nope, it's WK with OR in the middle. You're going back to work. You've got a baby son. You got to support your family. Go to work. And Dad said that was probably the best thing that could have ever happened to him because he put Vietnam on the shelf rather than dwell on it, and went back to his life, paid his mortgage and raised a ne'er-do-well son and 2 daughters. I don't know about them. But so he became an agent eventually. He quickly realized he thought the money in insurance would be selling it, not working for a company.
Sure.
And he became an agent, and he was still active, collecting and going to sports card dealers. And they'd say, hey, Tom, we can't get insurance. Nobody will touch us. What can you help me out? And he said, well, let me look into it. So there were already programs for stamps and coins, but there was nothing, they thought all the sports memorabilia dealers were, kind of East Coast Guidos with big fat wads of cash and a gold chain in their chest hair.
Careful.
They weren't wrong, because I've known a couple of those dealers, but, so Dad went to him and said, why won't you, you'll do coins and stamps. Why won't you do sports memorabilia? And they said, well, we don't know what it's worth. We don't know how to double check it. And he said, there's this brand new guide by this guy named Beckett who tells you how much those cards are worth, just like you can get a coin guide and a stamp guide. And so a company at the time, St. Paul Insurance, said, yeah, we'll do that for you in the state of Ohio. So he started making the rounds in Ohio, getting predominantly the businesses, sports memorabilia businesses, but also individual collectors. And then around 1983, 84, we partnered with Travelers Insurance, and they said, hey, what are all these little business owner policies that you got? They were looking for opportunities in our book of business. Dad said, well, I got this little program to do sports memorabilia collectors and dealers. And they said, hey, that's really neat. You want to go national with that? And Dad said, why, yes, I think I would. So Travelers Insurance bought our agency its very first IBM AT computer back in, 83. Dad only let me touch it once to play some asteroid game. I thought, computer, I thought that was pretty hot stuff. And the rest is history. I grew up with Dad collecting, buying bulk, breaking packs, making sets.
So it's in your heart, Joe. I don't think I've ever asked you this question in all the years we've known each other. How did you get started? I mean, as a kid, your dad just, bring you to card stores, or how did you develop a passion for it yourself?
Rico wants to answer.
5th time he's asked.
I've never asked that question.
5th time. He's forgetting.
I have.
At Lou, 5th time, Tom. He's asked this question to Joe.
What was the question I just asked?
You asked him about how he started.
No, that's not. I'm asking him how he started.
Oh, I'm sorry.
How'd you start collecting?
Well, I'll give you the short version. I remember the first time I went into it. It was one of those. It was in a mall in Cherry Hill, New Jersey, I think, and we went to the local mall there, and they had one of those all-encompassing shops. It had coins, it had stamps, it had a little bit of baseball cards. And I remember the first 2 cards my mom and dad bought me. Don't ask why. A 1975 Topps J. Johnstone. Okay. He was a local, kind of guy with Phillies and so forth. and a 1960 top Sandy Koufax that looks like your dog picked his teeth with it. But that's okay.
It was in the spokes of somebody's bicycle.
That's right. Exactly. So that's what got me started. And I had to be, probably 4 or 5 years old at the time. And had been a collector, my whole life. I mean, interestingly enough, in my family, my dad is a sports nut, has no interest in collecting whatsoever. My mom had the gene. That's where I got it from. And that is, as Mr. Finklemeier said earlier, that's a real thing. All the way, the mindset, the psychology, it is absolutely a real thing. And I don't need to be a scientist to make that statement, but just kept at it and became one of PSA's first customers back in the early 1990s, kept in contact with PSA as they were trying to develop the grading service. And then eventually, I've shared this with you before, Tom, eventually was sort of made an offer to come join.
Sure.
I was in the middle of law school, so I couldn't do it. Then when I graduated, they came back to me and said, hey, why don't you give this a shot? My father wanted to kill me for jumping immediately from law school graduation to PSA, but it was one of the best decisions I ever made, and I've loved just being in the hobby ever since, both professionally and as a collector.
No, it is. It's a great. It really is a great hobby.
It's a wonderful
There's plenty of lawyers, but there's only one Joe Orlando.
That's for sure. That's for sure.
That's very nice.
Hey, it's time for our segment On Deck with Rico, brought to us each week by our other good friend, Brian Dwyer, and the great staff at REA Auctions.
Mm-hmm.
Don't forget to get your bid in by going to collectrea.com. That's Robert Edward Auctions for extraordinary results and extraordinary service.
Yeah.
This week's question was submitted by Wayne Peters, who Lou and I both know.
Yes.
I like this question, Rico. And by the way, guys, jump in here. Who were some of the underrated pitchers you played with on the Red Sox? A lot of them stunk in the early days. 66, 65, they stunk. Did you have any good pitchers in 65 or 66?
Bill Mambo Cat.
Oh, Mambo.
Bill Mambo Cat was a heck of a pitcher. And
Dave Moorhead wasn't bad.
Yeah, Dave was a great curveball, but, was really good. He was a good hitter, too. Earl Wilson. Earl was he had good stuff. He just
so who was some of the underrated?
Well, underrated?
Yeah,
no, they weren't
how
underrated.
How about
terrible?
So they just
rated according to their skill.
They just sucked.
Like half of them are alive, so he's okay. Get away with this.
That's right. They're all gone.
Hey, you kidding me? I used to go in. They said the balls were hit so hard. I said, hey, I got 2 kids at the time. I said, come on, we have to.
Is that why you didn't want to move to third, Rico?
Yeah, well, third was bad.
Dick Ellsworth was pretty good.
Dick was a pretty good pitcher.
Lee Stang.
Ray Culp.
Ray Culp was
very good. But he had a sore arm. But, yeah, now it's coming back a little bit.
Now,
but, yeah, there were guys who were underrated.
But then you had some guys, quite frankly, that were probably friends of yours, but they did suck. Bucky Brandon was horrible.
Who?
Darryl Brandon.
Bucky, yeah. Well, he didn't have a lot of success. He got Frank Robinson out one time. He says he's not such a good hitter. Next time he faced him, Frank hit one over the light stand in Fenway, about 900 miles. He said, God dang, I think he's okay.
Joe, I know you've heard this story, and Lou, I think you may have, but Tom, you'll enjoy this. Tell
what?
Johnny Wyatt with the blob.
Oh, well, I told that story.
Well, no, Tom's never heard it.
Who?
Tom Finklemeier.
Well, I mean, 67 World Series, played the Cardinals, and Lou Brock killed. I mean, he was just stole bases, hit, you name it. They had a great team. I mean, Maris was in right, Cepeda at first base, Flood, and all those guys. And so John Wyatt was our relief pitcher.
And he was good.
He was very good, but no one knew. Fans, he had up in his locker Vaseline or some kind of substance that he would run every game. He put it on. We'd look at him, and I mean, even the writers, if they wanted, could see it. But he put it on. He's smiling. He put it all over his. So the World Series, we come up. We're ahead in the ball.
Else, Rico, we don't know.
Yeah, right. So in the World Series, we're ahead in the ball game, and late innings, 2 men on, Lou Brock coming up. So they bring in John. He was pretty effective against lefty.
Johnny comes walking in.
He had a great sinker. Yeah, Johnny comes walking in, and I said, John, how you doing? You got it? Oh yeah, I got it. Don't worry about it.
He called it the blob.
No, wait a second. No, not that was the.
Oh, okay.
So he's doing all this stuff with his hat, and when I know he's got it, I got Lou Brock was killing us, and he wasn't a home run hitter.
Right.
So anyway, first pitch, boom, this far dropped. Oh, I said that's a beauty. So second pitch, another 0-2. Then he gets to 2-2, right? And he had inside the belt, his pants, he had what he called the blob, a big, thick piece of let's call it Vaseline. So I says, oh, he's going to the blob. Hey, wow. I said, this is it. Brock will never hit this thing. So he warms up. Here comes the pitch. And like I say, have you ever heard a cannon go off? Lou Brock hit one so hard and so far. The 420 sign is right center field. Hit it over that into the runway, going down to the unbelievable. Holy jeez, what the hell happened? He had the blob. So we're coming in. I said, John, what the hell happened? He says, God damn it, he must have hit it on the dry side. I said, what? That's an old thing. But
He hit it on the dry side.
But I said, you had the blob.
Classic.
Lost.
That is funny.
It's true. That was true. I mean, I'm not just saying. Make that up.
Johnny Wyatt.
John.
Tom, I did have a question. What are some of the loss control measures? We're talking about theft that collectors can take themselves.
Yep. Well, in regards to shipping, we already covered it. Don't telegraph, wrap it well. Don't put anything, certainly don't take, like a Prism case and just stick a label on it and mail that. We've seen some pretty crazy stuff. For stores, you hate to see this, but you've got to harden your operation. As I said, sports memorabilia is insured in the same way that jewelry or artwork is. And jewelry's had this forever. You notice they take everything out of the window. It all goes in the safe, because if it's not in the safe, it is not insured.
Yeah.
And I'm getting some pushback from the companies that some sports memorabilia may end up in certain areas like Southern California. If you don't put it in the safe, you're not covered overnight. It's unsightly, and sometimes it's not permitted by local codes, but the steel doors with the mesh, so people can't just smash your glass and pop in there. Definitely bolt your safe to the floor or to the wall so it can't be just hauled out. And then be thinking. We've seen people tunnel in through the crawl space of the adjacent store and come up through the floor. We've seen people come in through the AC and drop in through the ceiling. I wish these people would put the effort into a legitimate endeavor that they do into theft, and maybe they could make a living doing that.
Really?
I'm like, it's like Mission Impossible. Who comes in through the crawl space to steal a bunch of baseball cards? But I guess
they find a way. Yeah, that's
showing up for work.
burglars.
Do insurance companies do recovery efforts? I'm thinking the smash and grabs at stores. There are graded cards that are serial numbered, and we know where they are. Do insurance companies try to recover?
They do, but if they're sophisticated enough to do that, they probably have some method to crack the cases.
Yeah.
We love stupid thieves that steal stuff, and then they put it on eBay, and you find it. Oh, there's the serial number, and bam. But you never recover everything, Lou.
Yeah.
You only get a portion back. I mean, you have the stuff that was stolen from J.P. Cohen from the Strongsville show a couple years ago. 2 of those cards are still outstanding. They caught the guy. They got most of it back. And the guy's in prison right now, but he wouldn't give up what he did with those last 2 cards. Nobody knows
and that was an inside job. He worked there. He worked at the hotel.
That guy worked for the Best Western. He was
Yeah,
like
worked for the hotel. I remember that.
So you never know.
Hey, Rick,
Yeah,
tell
I'd
us
like
about
to
the
tell you
another sports show
We got a
coming
big
up.
show coming into Boston. Yeah, the Northeast Sports Card Expo returns to the Boston area on Saturday, March 28th and Sunday, March 29th at the Marriott Boston Quincy in Quincy,
That's a
Mass.
nice venue.
For a huge weekend for collectors. Too bad we won't be there. With 26,000 square feet of expo space and 180 plus vendor tables, the show is loaded with sports cards, sports memorabilia, non-sports cards, Pokemon to me, toys, Funkos, and more. What the hell's a Funko? Plus on-site authentication by JSA. Whether you're buying, selling, or trading, everything you're looking for is under one roof. Tickets are now available. Listen to this. All autograph guests at the Northeast Sports Card Show in Quincy will offer one free autograph with paid admission. Some of the autograph guests appearing at the show, look at this. Tim Sweeney from the Boston Bruins, former. Ronnie Lippett, former New England Patriot. Russ Hochstein. I know, I call him Lippett.
Italian.
Russ Hochstein, Manny Del Carmen, boy, he had great stuff for World Series
Short time,
champions.
he wasn't that good.
I know, but Jim Longborg, Cy Young Award winner, teammate of mine. Taylor Lair, former Philadelphia Flyers player. Gigi Marvin, played in the movie Gigi, right? U.S. Olympic gold medalist. She's really. Oh, this is she, isn't it? Jamie Parker, who we know. Jamie's been in the New England area a long time. She's terrific. Spike Dudley. Dudley Do-Right, right?
Yep.
Former WWE wrestler. Wrecking Ball. Wait.
I don't know who this guy
Wrecking Ball Legursky.
Do you know who he is, Joe?
NWA superstar.
He's a wrestler.
Well, I know. From The Sopranos, John Fiore, that's Gigi.
Yeah.
And Frank Santarelli, who's Georgie. Georgie and Gigi? I don't think so. Real names are real good. The mob. Jim Bowman, former New England Patriots, and more. Raffle prizes, free commemorative show poster for the first 200 attendees.
That's a good deal.
Attendees each day. Sports mascot appearances include Slide, Pat Patriot, and Pikachu.
Pikachu.
Pikachu. Kids under 12 get in free. Don't miss the Northeast Sports Card Expo in Quincy, Mass. Get your tickets today at www.northeastcardexpo.com. I mean, you wrote a book here. What the heck?
Actually, they wrote it. I didn't.
Well,
write
they
it.
wrote a book. Well, I mean, how much you need half the show to do?
I didn't.
But they're
I didn't
good.
write it.
Yeah, well, they're very good.
Anyway, so yeah, we've gone to that a couple of times.
I'm only kidding. You know, I like to
show,
joke
isn't it?
around.
I'm sorry.
That's George Pepdonovic's show.
Yes, it is actually. Yep. Good guy. Good guy.
Good guy. That'll be a
Actually,
good
they're going to
show.
come on. They're going to be on. They may be on the week after next. One of them, either Jim or John, they're brothers.
Before the show. Huh?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I guess we're just about out of time.
Wow.
Tom, people love what you're doing, and guess what, man?
It's important.
If they, I've said it a million times. You need to have insurance.
Yep.
And as Joe stated earlier, in this hobby, for some reason, there's a lot of people that are not insured. It's crazy that you don't. Joe, what's on the horizon for Heritage Auctions? You got some stuff coming down?
Yeah, we've got another big auction going on right now. It closes on the April 3rd and 4th. It's primarily a card catalog, but it's already at $6.5 million, and we only have 3 weeks to go or so. So it's doing pretty well. So we're
$6.5
the market is strong in just about every category imaginable.
Hey, just a quick question for both of you before we leave. Joe, you guys on the modern and ultra modern really still strong? The market.
Yeah, there was a it's interesting. Like we had that COVID.
There was a little dip.
There was
Yeah,
a little bit of a dip. But what was really interesting is that I think that's the first time in my hobby life that I saw that happen. But then it just bounced right back. Usually, if you go back through the last 4 decades or so, when you would see that initial sort of modern dip or ultra modern dip, it would stay down for a while. It bounced right back inside of a year, and the prices. I mean, you see the prices
Crazy
everywhere. They're still very strong.
And Tom, before we let you go, percentage-wise, vintage versus modern, what is the split there as far as insurance goes? Is it more modern, more vintage? What is it?
It's
50-50?
It's hard to say, but when we don't typically see a collector's entire inventory.
Right. You get the aggregate.
See the high ticket items, and what drives it is mostly vintage. I have one super large collector who's into high end basketball, a lot of hoop stuff that's more modern. But the bulk of what we see, it's people that collect vintage is always, I think, going to be king, because nobody was socking that stuff away. No matter what you come up with from about the 70s to today, somebody's sitting on warehouses of unopened products somewhere as a speculation. Whereas the 52 mantles that exist, it's happenstance. They just happen to survive. And that's why vintage, I feel, is always going to have the panache, because it's survived by chance, like antique toys or anything.
Sure. Excellent. Just one last plug. As you guys know, Ellen and I have been working feverishly on a new book project that we are teaming with both PSA and the National. We're very excited about it. Legendary Finds and Sports Collectibles Treasures. Joe gave us the honor. It's always the honor for us to ask him. Joe wrote the foreword to the book. It's going to be a really cool book. It's about the great finds in the history of this hobby, as well as some of the great sports treasures that have gone through different people's hands, whether they be auction houses or private collectors. There's some pretty cool backstories. So we're looking forward to it. Great. It's going to be launched at the 2027 National. So we've got a ways to go, but publisher is putting big time pressure on us. So
still be in Chicago though.
It will be in Chicago. Yeah.
So that's Chicago, and then they go to Denver. Or
no, then they go to Detroit. Detroit.
Well, they both start with D.
That's a good point. All right. With that being said, Tom, thanks so much for coming on board.
Great
Joe,
show,
you know what you mean to us. Joe always jumps in to help us out. We really appreciate you guys, what you both do for the hobby. Louis, great job as usual. Yeah. And next week we have a special. This is not the show you're involved in. Thank God. Thank God.
Of course.
This is the show that Lou is co-hosting with me. We are doing a 1 hour special Pokemon show.
Oh, whoa.
Really? And we have experts from all over the country. It's called Pokemon 101 because Lou and I know jack about Pokemon.
Wow,
so we're gonna be taught, and a lot of our viewers
I know about the NBA.
A lot of our viewers who know even less than us are going to be taught. So we have a Pokemon show, and then we're heading back to Boston.
Yes.
So with that being said, guys, thank you so much to our viewers.
Thanks, guys.
To our viewers and listeners. Without you guys, we wouldn't be here. The response has been overwhelming. Lou and I look at the analytics every week, and it's just like, wow. We're thrilled with everything that you guys are doing for us, and we really appreciate that. And with that being said,
thanks, guys.
Happy collecting.